We're here because your heightened awareness deserves heightened entertainment. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Prediction markets, they claim to forecast the future, investing based on elections, recessions, even who will win an Olympic gold. But is getting involved with them a genius investment, or is it just betting dressed up a little different? I'm here with someone who's run these markets, he's researched them, and the question is, should we be skeptical of them? I'm here with Werner Antweiler, an economics professor at UBC's Sauder School of Business. Werner, welcome to the show.
Hello, David. Thank you for having me on your program.
It sounds fancy. It doesn't sound like going to a casino. A prediction market sounds like something that a reasonable person would invest in. What are they? If I was at a dinner party with you and I'd never heard of them, how would you explain them?
Yeah, it's essentially like any other futures market where you can buy and sell shares in a contract. And the basic idea, though, is that you're predicting events in the future by trading on the outcome of a particular event, like an election or the invention of a new drug potentially, but mostly it's sports events. And so in that sense, it's very similar to betting.
So it's not dissimilar than sitting in that sports room in the casino, placing a bet on the football game in the screen. It's just a sort of fancy dressed up way of doing that.
Yeah, the main difference is that you can trade it continuously. So before the event happens, you can actually go and sell your shares or buy new shares. And the information that you have about the event reflects the prices. So it's basically different than placing a bet because you can still change your position anytime until the event happens.
So you ran one, a not-for-profit, I imagine, sort of research sort of prediction market. For how long did you run one?
Yeah, we ran it for about 20 years. We ran prediction markets for elections in British Columbia and at the federal level in Canada. And we wanted to find out how these prediction markets work and what is actually working well, what is not working well. The basic appeal of these markets is that it's crowdsourcing information different from public opinion polls. It's really asking people to put their money where their mouth is. It's basically harnessing the wisdom of the crowds by aggregating all that wonderful information when people aren't just asked about, now, what do you think is going to happen, but rather really have to put money into their beliefs. And that is the appeal of these markets.
Well, the wisdom of the crowd. When I think of a crowd, I think mob mentality. I don't necessarily think wisdom. What are some of the surprising ways in which people behaved when they had access to this financial instrument, I guess you call it?
Yeah, it's so actually we ran different types of markets. One was very much like a futures market where we were trading in the outcome for predicting the seat share in the House of Commons. And that is a continuous number. But people are attracted to these, what we call binary option contracts, an all or nothing contract where you either win or you lose. And so basically like the majority government who forms the next government. And people are much more attracted to these leveraged markets than to the markets that trade in continuous outcomes. The appeal then is like now you invest maybe $30, $40 and you get $100 in return if you actually win the big prize, which is the outcome comes true that you're predicting. Like, say one party forms the next government. So this attraction to these really leveraged options is also part of the problem. It really looks in the end like gambling because you're not really trading as this continuous outcome like a commodity price for oil or gas or something like that, but you're trading in this a very leveraged position. You either win all or you lose everything.
There are those, and I'm not one of them, I'm not a fan of these actually, but there are those that would say trading stocks is gambling as well. How is this somehow worse? How is this somehow more like casino gambling?
Well, of course, you have the uncertainty of the prices. With stocks, so you invest in a company, you actually get a dividend, and this company is actually producing something. When you actually hedge in commodities, there's value in that too, because you will receive these commodities at some point in the future. So people invest in futures markets because it allows you to hedge against the uncertainty of the future. You're taking a position now, and then you are basically receiving delivery of a commodity at a fixed price sometime in the future. With a prediction market, you may actually buy an emotional hedge. Like say you want to have one party win, but you think it's the other party that's going to win. So you buy a contract in the futures market, like a prediction market, and you emotionally hedge against the outcome. That would be something where you can see the rationale here. But still, it's in the end, because it's such a leveraged position, it really looks a lot like betting in the end.
I'm a Canadian. I live in the United States. And when it comes to money, securities, regulation, banking, definitely my Canadian sensibilities are strong. But here in the US, prediction markets are mostly legal, is my understanding. They're very, very common. Do you see them coming to Canada in a similar way that they exist in the US?
No, not quite. Now, we have securities regulators in Canada who put a lid on that in Ontario. Other provinces haven't followed because our securities regulator system is kind of fractured. Every province actually has its own little thing. And so what happened in Ontario doesn't necessarily apply to the other provinces. But so far, we haven't actually seen them springing up because the regulators here in Canada would probably look at it quite differently than in the United States. And that's for good reason. These prediction markets actually come with a number of problems that regulators would actually need to deal with, and they're really thorny issues.
Now, not to mention like market manipulation, insider influence. Like I could bet on something and then, I don't know, if it's a political candidate to win, I could then donate to the candidate to try to influence the election. Do you see subtle ways in which people can manipulate markets after they've placed these bets?
Yeah, so there are two ways of that I see as of problems. One is you have a few investors coming in and putting in a lot of money and sort of basically pushing aside all the small investors. And so you can sort of corner the market, you can influence the prices that emerge, and then you can claim, the price is going up, this event is more likely going to happen. And so that could be generating news. So there is the potential for manipulation when you allow basically investors to come in with any amount of investment. We, in our experimental market, had a lid on it. So the maximum we could invest was sort of capped. And therefore, we didn't have that manipulation ability. But it's a potential in all these commercial markets because, hey, they're just interested in taking the money. They're not interested in getting the prediction right. They're just interested in making a profit. And he also mentioned the insider information that could be a big problem. That is. So one of the prediction markets that are running commercially predicted the outcome whether or not Maduro would be taken, the president of Venezuela. And of course, it did happen. There was somebody who actually made a big profit on this. We don't know who that person is, but we do know it happened that this person took a profit. And that really looked a lot like insider information. And that is a potential when you have events that are happening that are actually determined by individual people or a small circle of people. They have knowledge that others don't. And so they could trade on that. With elections, that wasn't possible because elections are determined by millions of people actually going to the ballot boxes. But that's not true for many of the events that are being traded upon in these commercial prediction markets.
And for publicly traded companies, there's a lot of rules around when so-called insiders can trade, blackout times when the balance sheet gets announced, all sorts of stuff like this, earnings calls. So these things are regulated for the most part, but with prediction markets, perhaps not, or perhaps it's very difficult to regulate.
Yeah, in the United States, it's actually not really regulated. It's a wild west of prediction markets, as I would call it. It's a lacking regulation, and the current administration in the United States is all gung-ho for everything that's crypto and that's new markets. And in fact, there is a link to crypto because some of these markets actually are based on accepting cryptocurrencies for investment. And so that makes it really hard to actually trace who's actually benefiting. And that's precisely this lack of transparency and lack of accountability that leads me to question these markets when it actually opens the door really wide for insider trading.
It certainly does. Your arguments have gone from bad to worse. Are there any positive arguments in favor of these things to people that say, hey, they're just a bit of fun, I want to bet on the football game? What would you say to them?
If it's like that, people just want to bet on a sporting outcome, it's like betting, and that needs to be regulated by the provinces. And if there's money to be made, that shouldn't be a commercial profit. Like all gambling in the province here in British Columbia, it's regulated by our province, and the money actually goes to the public purse and will be recirculated as profits to good causes. So that should be the norm for betting. It should not be out in the wild. It should be strictly regulated because betting can also be a harmful activity to individuals. There is addiction to taking these risks, and that is a problem.
Certainly it is. Well, Werner Antweiler is an economics professor at UBC Sauder School of Business. Werner, thanks for talking to me about this. I appreciate you coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Monster Energy. Everybody knows White Monster Zero Ultra. That's the OG. It kicked off this whole zero sugar energy drink thing. But Ultra is a whole lineup now. You've got Strawberry Dreams, Blue Hawaiian, Sunrise, and Vice Guava. And they all bring the Monster Energy punch. So if you've been living in the white can, branch out. Ultra's got a flavor for every vibe. and every single one is zero sugar. Tap the banner to learn more.